What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to quickly teach you how to build pillar and cluster topics within ChatGPT so you can crush your enemies on the SERP. The first step is going to be copying the content writing prompt persona that I've included in the description below. Once you have your prompt persona, we're just going to copy that and enter it into ChatGPT. In today's video, I'm going to be using GPT-4 with the WebPilot plugin extension added. However, feel free to use 3.5. It totally works for that as well. Once you've done that, the second step is going to be copying and pasting the content cluster prompt that I've included in the description below, and you're going to enter that into ChatGPT. Now, there are two things to note here. The first is going to be wherever it says enter keywords. I have it highlighted here in yellow on my screen. You're just going to simply enter your keyword. And then the second thing that you also want to keep in mind is if you do have a primary audience for this content strategy, I would just add a line about that. That way you make sure you're getting topics that are directly correlated with your primary audience. So what goes into this prompt? Well, we're going to be asking ChatGPT to build a markdown table for our SEO strategy that includes a couple of different columns. The first column is going to be our keyword cluster. So think whatever keyword you actually entered into the prompt. The second column is going to be a primary keyword that's related to your core topic. Then you're also going to have 3 secondary keywords that support your primary keyword. We're also going to include the search intent and then also a captivating title and value-based meta description with a call to action. Now, you can certainly write a better title and meta description after your article is written. So just use the title and meta description that it provides you to give you some more context into what type of article you should expect. We're also going to be categorizing the search intent as either commercial, transactional, or informational. And then we're refraining from using any kind of generic keywords. And we're specifically asking ChatGPT to not generate this table as code. So let's take a look at what ChatGPT provided us in its output. Again, in the first column, you're going to have your keyword cluster. So what is this entire strategy going to be built around? Well, the first row says historical museums. We're going to be targeting primarily the Louvre Museum. We have some supporting keywords here in the third column, such as Napoleon's apartments, Egyptian antiquities, and then the Mona Lisa. We know that this is going to be an informational article, so the user is going to expect something that is in-depth and really dives into each one of these pieces. And then again, we're providing a title and a meta description, so you, as the reader here, can kind of understand and get the gist of what the article is going to be about according to ChatGPT. So we have discover the wonders of the Louvre Museum in Paris. So we know that this is not going to be just a generalized article about the Louvre Museum. We're going to be going into a bunch of different wonders from the Louvre Museum. And you guys can use this information and actually feed it back to ChatGPT in order to have it write your article. For instance, I would tell ChatGPT that this is my working title based on these keywords, and I would use the meta description to kind of describe to ChatGPT what type of article I'm expecting. So I want ChatGPT in this instance to dive into the centuries of art and history that's currently at the museum, and I'm asking ChatGPT to further explore iconic pieces, but also hidden gems. So guys, we can take this in a couple of different directions. We could either ask ChatGPT to continue exploring content clusters and provide us with 5 or 10 more topics. We could also ask it to create a pillar content. Or if we liked any particular topic that's on the list, we could ask it to provide us with more keywords, either primary, secondary, or even tertiary keywords that we could include within this topic. But if you've been using ChatGPT for even a little while now, sometimes you'll realize that ChatGPT can kind of give you a wide variety of keywords, and they don't always match with what you're trying to do on your article. So instead of asking ChatGPT to provide me an in-depth list of keywords, I'm going to take my core keyword topic and I'm going to enter it into Ahrefs free keyword generator. I think I'm actually going to create a pillar article about Paris museums, and then I'm going to use the cluster topics that ChatGPT provided to kind of round out that internal linking structure. You can see on the right side of the screen that I added Paris museums to the free keyword tool, and it's provided me with an entire list plus the search volume associated with each keyword. So this is a really powerful and free way to develop your keyword strategy for an article. So here are some keywords that just jump out to me immediately. Paris museums list, so we could have a listicle style article. We have free Paris museums, which would be a really great one to focus on because the Louvre costs quite a bit of money depending on your family size. We also have small Paris museums because not everyone really wants to spend an entire day in a museum, or maybe they just simply don't have the time to spend in a museum. So I'm going to go through this list and I'm going to pull out a bunch of keywords that I like for this article, and then I'm going to hop back into ChatGPT. Once you're done finding your keywords, let's jump back into ChatGPT and we're going to start building our content outline. Our primary prompt is going to be where I've highlighted, but let's go over everything that I've included here. So I'm asking ChatGPT to use the details I've included below for my audience, my brand voice, my unique selling propositions, my engagement objectives, and then lastly, my tone and style to guide its writing. So it's going to have all of this context about my website, and it can start to formulate a topic that is geared towards that. Now, the actual prompt is going to be wrapped in a task delineator, and it says, provide me with a content outline for an article I am writing called Complete List of Paris Museums. It will act as a pillar article for the cluster topics you included above, with the goal of creating an internal linking structure. Use headings and subheadings and ensure we are targeting keywords. We are only writing the content outline, not the content itself. That will come later. Try to include keywords as much as possible without keyword stuffing. Now, that last sentence is optional. I went to school in an English program and they kind of beat MLA into me, so that's what I use on my websites. And then again, you'll just provide ChatGPT with a little bit more information about your website. Or if you are running ChatGPT 4 with a plugin, you can just simply ask it to build all of this itself. It can crawl your page and diagnose what your audience is, what your brand voice is. So really make sure you give it an example that you think is high quality and focuses on your writing style. Don't forget to also include your keywords that you selected from Ahrefs or whatever tool you happen to be running. That way ChatGPT can also insert those throughout your content outline, specifically in its header tags. So let's take a look at the outline. We have our introduction. We're jumping directly into historical museums. We're going to follow that up with modern art museums, science museums, romantic era museums. So this is all really great because these subheadings that we're going to have on this page are going to be prime opportunities for us to link out to those other topics that ChatGPT provided us a little earlier in this video. So we're really going to be establishing our internal linking structure, which is fantastic for SEO value. To really build out this article, what you can do is ask ChatGPT to provide you with some FAQs, some frequently asked questions, and that's going to give you some more context for this page. You can add some structured data to support those FAQs. But sometimes ChatGPT is a little hit or miss. While those FAQs may seem like good ones, they're usually not indicative of what's actually on the SERP. For that, we're going to be using another free tool called Also Asked. To highlight what I mean, I'm going to have on my left side, ChatGPT run the prompt. Please generate a list of 10 FAQs based on our topic. You will provide the question and follow it up with the answer. Keep your answers digestible and written in a way that we get picked up by Google's People Also Ask section of the SERP. So this is going to provide me with a list of 10 FAQs. On the other side of the screen, we're going to be using Also Asked for our keyword topic. And this is going to provide us with actual data from the SERP. So let's check out what ChatGPT wrote for us. What are the must-visit museums in Paris? Is the Louvre Museum the largest museum in Paris? Are there any free museums in Paris? Let's just focus on those top three. Now, on the other side of our screen, we have what museums are a must-see in Paris? So we have one that's fairly similar there, but the wording is different. What are the 3 famous museums in Paris? What is the name of the most visited museum in Paris? And then we have this web here that kind of branches off and goes into others in depth. Now, in order to spot check which one is accurate, we could go to the SERP itself and type in our query. I did just that. I went to Google, I typed in Paris museums into our search bar, and we got a people also asked box. And if you take a look at what's actually present, you can see that it matches also asked, whereas it does not match ChatGPT. So while ChatGPT wrote what seems to be really good FAQs, and who knows, maybe someone is searching for it, that's not what's actually appearing on the SERP itself. And I don't know about you, but I would rather target what Google is prioritizing on the SERP than what ChatGPT is generating for us. So what I'm going to do now is go into also asked, and I'm going to take those questions and I'm going to provide it to ChatGPT and ask it to generate some answers for us. So I went back into ChatGPT, I gave it the 3 questions that I pulled out of also asked. Feel free to include more than that. And I'm asking ChatGPT to answer these questions, but keep it digestible and written in a way that's going to help me appear on Google SERP within the people also asked box. I think it did a great job on its answers. I like them, so I'm just going to leave them as is. An alternative to this, and it's a really great method to learn about anything really, is taking the question and adding it to Perplexity AI. We're going to do that for our first question here, what museums are a must-see in Paris? And let's see what answer it provides. So the great thing about Perplexity is that it's going to give you an answer to the question or an answer to the topic that you entered, but it's also going to provide more details than we would typically get from ChatGPT. Now, this is the special part. It's going to create links to where it actually found that information. So you'll see here for the first one, it includes a link pointing to TripAdvisor, so you can see exactly where Perplexity pulled that information from. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, it's going to create some related questions that you can use to round out the topic. We're going to go back into ChatGPT and we're going to ask our prompt persona to start building our article. And we're going to do this section by section. And the reason I'm doing it that way and not just giving it the entire content outline and telling it to write is that if you write the first section and you see ChatGPT is not really providing you the content you're looking for, you can fine tune it. Whereas if it writes the entire article for you, well, then you have to go and say, can you go all the way back to this section, rewrite it? And then if that is rewritten, chances are the rest of the article is not going to make sense, or it's going to be a little different. So again, we're going to go through this section by section, starting with the introduction. And let's go over the prompt that I'm giving ChatGPT. I said, let's proceed by writing the first section of our article. Do not forget to use the details in audience, brand voice, USP, engagement objectives, and tone and style to guide your writing. Because again, I do not want just a generic article. I want it written in my brand's voice. We're also telling ChatGPT, where appropriate, use internal links to drive users to other pages on my website. In this instance, I actually have some articles on my website that would make sense to include on this page. So I'm going to give ChatGPT that and ask it to provide internal links. I'm also telling ChatGPT, where applicable, include some of the following HTML formattings: unordered lists, ordered lists, tables, block quotes, bold, and italics. And the reason for that is, think about all of the articles you've read online. Would you read something that's just a wall of text? Probably not. But you will read something that includes bolded text so that your eyes will immediately divert there. It's often an important section. You'll comb through a bullet point list because, again, that's more digestible than reading an entire 2,500 word article that is just paragraph after paragraph. I'm also asking ChatGPT, do you understand? That way we just make sure that we're both on the same page. So ChatGPT finished its introduction, and in my opinion, I think it did a really great job. The internal links are written in a way that are just seamless. Sometimes, unfortunately, ChatGPT will just throw an internal link at the very tail end of something, and it doesn't truly make sense. It kind of breaks up the flow of things. But the way it's written here, it fits within the context of our introduction. It also brought in this block quote from King Louis XIV that totally captures what this article is going to be about. Paris is not just a city, it's a world. And in these museums, we're going to see the world. We're going to see all of the different places that the art is from. So again, for an introduction, I think this is A+. ChatGPT really nailed it. So I asked ChatGPT to continue with the next section, which is about historical museums. We have our introduction here, and then we have the primary museum, the Louvre, with a minor introduction to that as well, and then 2 bullet points highlighting sections that will become internal links in the future. Now, let's say you like that section, but maybe you just didn't love it, and you want to add some more content that would be relevant to the user. I'm just simply asking ChatGPT to analyze its work and then recommend some additional things that we can include within that section to really resonate with our reader and provide them with a great experience. We can ask ChatGPT to expand on any one of these, and it usually will do a really great job. So, for example, if you did want some historical context, I would ask ChatGPT to provide that information and then ask ChatGPT to also revise the previous section to include the additional content that we just wrote. Number 6 on our list, we have imagery. And ChatGPT is reminding us that images are really going to make this page stand out. So let's jump into that. Now, you can generate your images in a variety of different ways. Now that ChatGPT has DALL-E directly built in, you could ask it to generate AI images. You could use Midjourney if you have it available to you. Or what I did here is I went to Unsplash, so it's royalty-free images that you can use for free on your website. And I just simply typed in the Louvre Museum, and it's given me a bunch of really wonderful images that I could use as either a featured image or I could include within the body of my content. For example, ChatGPT just wrote about the Mona Lisa, and we immediately have a photo of the Mona Lisa, so that would be an appropriate photo to include within our content. All right, guys, so that's it for today's video. Again, this is a really great way to build those quick content clusters and give you an idea of what you should include around your pillar content. I hope that you enjoyed that 2-step process, and then also what I would do in order to actually expand on the content itself. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs up anyway. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, this is Todd.